Rama, 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 Hari, Hari. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Srila Prabhupada was in Boston, if you remember, and he had a look around the ISKCON press place. Purushottam is going through his crisis. And then at the end, the weather in Boston was really cold and wet. And if it wasn't snowing, it was raining. And if it wasn't raining, it was snowing. And Prabhupada got a cold and it was getting worse. So he decided to go to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is considerably warmer. Not that warm though, but I mean in the winter. So Los Angeles, February 25th, 1970, on the auspicious occasion of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day anniversary, the Los Angeles devotees received permission to enter their new temple on Watseka Avenue, which is still their temple. The rooms had not even been cleaned, and the large hall was bare. But the devotees brought in Prabhupada's Vyasasan from the old temple in La Cienega, and Prabhupada had them place on it a large picture of his spiritual master. Standing before his spiritual master, Prabhupada offered arti, while some 50 disciples gathered around him, chanting Hare Krishna and dancing in the otherwise empty hall. After the arti, Prabhupada directed his disciples in offering flowers to the picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Then, still standing before the Vyasasan, he said he had nothing to offer his spiritual master on this day except his own disciples. He then read aloud the names of all his disciples. Of all his disciples. Not so many at that time. I don't know, I wonder. I don't know, but 100, couple of hundred maybe. Okay. Taking his seat on a low Vyasasan beside the large Vyasasan of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada gave a short history of his Guru Maharaj, son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and powerful Acharya of the mission of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. As Prabhupada recalled his first meeting with his spiritual master, he told how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had told him to teach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking world. This large new temple, Prabhupada said, had been provided by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as a gift for the devotees to use in Krishna's service. They should not become attached to the opulence, Prabhupada said, but they should use this wonderful place for preaching. As he spoke, he wept. Now bring them prasadam, Prabhupada called, and the feast began. While devotees sat on the floor in rows, Prabhupada from his Vyasasan directed the servers, having them bring another samosa to one devotee, more chutney to another. What would you like? More cottage pie? Oh, more mango pickle, wow. What would you like? More butter paneer, please. Mother Radharanath, what do you want? More of everything. What would you like? Oh, really? And what would you like? Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Oh. And Mongol sweets. Oh, okay. You're not the one who's been stealing them, are you? It's just a joke. Before, I don't know about here actually, I don't think here, but in Bhaktivedanta Manor, there was an epidemic of sweets, of Mongol arati sweet stealing. While the offering was going on, there'd be some left over in the kitchen. They'd be gone. Yeah, anyway, I won't go into it too much, but it was an epidemic. Okay, right, so, and so on. Oh, Maria, sorry, I forgot. What prasadam would you like? Okay, yogurt it is. Sweet or just yogurt?
Just yogurt, but I don't mind if it's sweet.
Okay. Right. He watched over all of them, encouraging them to take Krishna's prasadam. That afternoon, Prabhupada toured the buildings. In addition to the main hall, which he would have the devotees convert into a temple, he saw the equally large lecture hall. These rooms, plus a 3-room apartment, ample separate quarters for male and female devotees, a parking lot, and a front lawn, made this the finest physical facility in all of ISKCON. We don't require such a nice place for ourselves, Prabhupada told the temple president, Gargamuni. We're prepared to live anywhere, but such a nice place will give us opportunity to invite gentlemen to come and learn about this Krishna consciousness. The cost of the building had been $225,000 with a $50,000 down payment. Prabhupada had had more than $10,000 in his book fund, but that was exclusively for printing books. So although he usually didn't like to deal personally in such negotiations, he had made an exception in this case and had asked the other temples to donate to the quote-unquote new world headquarters in Los Angeles. He had even mailed snapshots of the buildings to various temple presidents around the world. Thus, he had collected the down payment, and on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's appearance day, ISKCON became the legal owner. This was the only temple ISKCON actually owned. All the other buildings were leased or rented, and Prabhupada wanted to design everything himself. Hiring professionals would be too expensive, but Prabhupada had plenty of disciples eager to do the renovation. Karanda knew a little carpentry, plumbing, and general construction, and he could learn more by experience. Bhavananda had been a professional designer, and he was filled with Prabhupada's enthusiasm to transform the plain church into a dazzling palace for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. First you make my apartment, Prabhupada told Bhavananda. Let me move in, and then we will work on the temple room. Bhavananda. We picked out a part of the Los Angeles temple for Prabhupada's quarters, and Karanda built a bathroom. When Prabhupada came up to the rooms, he said, "This will be my sitting room. This will be my bedroom." And when he came to a third room with a skylight, he said, "This will be my library." Prabhupada had told me once in Boston that as a child he had lived in a palace with blue walls, red marble floors, and orange and gold trim, the Malik's house in Calcutta. So he painted the walls of his sitting room blue, and I put in a white tile floor. The drapes were burnt orange satin with gold cords and gold fringe. Prabhupada liked this color scheme very much. In the bedroom, I asked Prabhupada where he wanted his bed, and he said, "Put the bed in the middle of the room." We had put down a rug, and Prabhupada said, "Now you should get sheets and cover the rug with them." In India, they have rugs like this, nice rugs, and they cover them with sheets. Hare Krishna. That's true. And on special days, they take the sheets off. Otherwise, they would become ruined. So I went out and bought sheets. It's Bhavananda still speaking. Prabhupada was in his sitting room when I came in and started putting the sheet over the rug in the bedroom. Prabhupada came in and said, "Yes, this is very nice. Again, I have introduced something new. This is something new for all of you. Sheets on rugs." Then he told me, "Now make sure there are no wrinkles in the sheet." I was on my hands and knees on the rug, and Prabhupada also got down on his hands and knees right next to me. We were both pressing out the wrinkles from the sheet, and when we got to the end, Prabhupada folded the sheet under the rug. He was very happy there because it was our own place. We had never had our own place before. Unquote. In the temple room, Prabhupada showed Karanda where to build the 3 altars. He indicated the measurements and instructed that before each altar should be a pair of doors, and over them the symbols of Vishnu, a conch shell over the altar for Guru and Gauranga, a wheel and club over Radha and Krishna's altar in the center, and a lotus over Lord Jagannath's. The spiritual master's Vyasasan was to go at the opposite end of the temple, facing Radha and Krishna. The walls should be yellow, which Prabhupada said was in the mode of goodness. The ceiling should be covered with a canopy, and there should be chandeliers. Once the altars were completed, Prabhupada wanted to bring the deities, even though much of the renovation was yet unfinished. After constructing an umbrella-covered cart and decorating it with flowers, the devotees brought the deities in procession from the old temple on La Cienega Boulevard to their new home. Bhavananda. The first time he came into the temple room after his morning walk, he went to the Guru Gauranga altar and paid obeisances. We all paid our obeisances. Then he stood up and went to Radha and Krishna, and then paid obeisances. Then to Jagannath, and we all followed. Then we walked back, and he sat on his Vyasasan, and he told us, "Now you line up facing each other from the Vyasasan to Radha and Krishna. Face each other, this way, that way. One way you look as Guru, and the other way God. And then back and forth that way. Always leave this aisle, he said, so I can see. The deity was the king, Prabhupada said, and all the temple residents were his personal servants. The temple, therefore, should be like a palace. An elaborate temple was important for preaching, Prabhupada explained, because most people, especially Westerners, were not inclined to undergo any austerities for obtaining spiritual life. There was an Indian saying, "No one listens to a poor man." How's that? Were the devotees to advertise classes on Bhakti Yoga in such and such empty field under a certain tree, Prabhupada said, no one would come. But a clean, beautiful building with chandeliers and comfortable rooms would attract many people to visit and become purified. The temple was also for those who wanted to live there as Krishna-conscious devotees. Devotees, Prabhupada said, should be willing to live and sleep anywhere. Well, you know, I mentioned actually, when I joined in London, there were many devotees and not so much space. So in the main brahmachari room, which was, I would say, less than half the size of this room for sure, there were about 20 of us sleeping every night. And we would be more or less almost against each other. Oh yeah, one, then the next one. And you'd wake up almost every night with someone's lotus foot in your face, or your foot in someone's face. Krishna, it was really quite something. It was like, I mean, this is not a nice example, but sardines, if you know what that means. Sorry. Okay. So devotees, Prabhupada said, should be willing to live and sleep anywhere. But as the loving, protecting father of his disciples, Prabhupada took great care to establish a large temple and an adequate dormitory facility. He was making a home for his family to see that his spiritual children had a place to live and practice their devotional to see that his spiritual children had a place to live and practice their devotional service was just another aspect of his mission. A special feature of the new temple was Srila Prabhupada's garden. The devotees had excavated a large patch of concrete behind the temple, filled it in with earth, surrounded it with a cinder block wall, and planted a lawn with flower gardens all around. Karanda. I had dug some beds along the inside perimeter and planted a plant here and a plant there. But Prabhupada said, no, plant something everywhere. Everywhere there should be something growing. Wherever there's a place, you plant something. Let there be growing everywhere. He wanted it overgrown like a jungle, a tropical area where plants just grow luxuriantly everywhere. Srila Prabhupada always enjoyed sitting in the garden in the evening with the fresh, cool evening air and the fragrance of the flowers. The topics of conversation in the garden were as varied as Srimad Bhagavatam, all different subjects. Sometimes there would be lively conversations with guests or devotees, And sometimes Prabhupada would spend the entire time just chanting with very little conversation. Sometimes Prabhupada would just have somebody read from the Krishna book. Prabhupada said that his mother maintained a garden on the roof of their house when he was young, and that he would go up there in the evenings and play. He remembered that. He always remembered what he liked to do as a child. You would hear him reminisce with pleasure about it. Many times he would comment, "My mother maintained a garden on the roof of our residence, and as a child I would go there in the evening and play. Now I also have such a nice place to come." Unquote. Under Prabhupada's personal direction, the Los Angeles Center became a model for the rest of ISKCON. At the morning Bhagavatam class, for example, he had the devotees responsively chant the Sanskrit mantras after him, and he asked that this become the standard program in all his temples. That's interesting, isn't it? We do that every day. But it only started in early 1970. Before that, he didn't have the devotees chant the verses responsively. Interesting. And I remember in 1974, in Bhaktivedanta Manor, our then GBC Hansaduta Das one morning made an announcement that, okay, devotees, we have a new program. We're starting today. It's called Guru Puja. And what we do, we'll sing this song. We'd not sung the song before, you know the song. Shri Guru Charana Padma. So we sing the song, we offer, someone offers arati to Prabhupada, and we offer flowers. And we'd never done that. It got introduced, 1974. In May 1970, he wrote to each of his 26 temple presidents throughout North America and Europe, inviting them to visit him at Los Angeles. Now, at the present, now at the present moment, I'm concentrating my energy in this Los Angeles center as ideal for all other centers in respect of deity worship, arti, kirtan, and other necessary paraphernalia. As I've curtailed my moving program, I wish that you may come here at your convenience and stay here for a few days and see personally how things are going on. And by meeting with me personally for necessary instruction, I hope simultaneously in all centers, the activities will be of the same standard. The temple presidents who visited Prabhupada, most of them young men in their 20s, came with practical as well as philosophical questions. They came with their notebooks, writing down everything from the temple schedule to color schemes, noting the tunes used in the kirtans, learning how to manage a Sankirtan party. And perhaps most important of all, they would note the things Prabhupada did and the words he spoke personally to them. The temple presidents would then return to their own centers in Berkeley or Hamburg or Toronto or Sydney, glowing with ecstasy and ready to implement dozens of new standards they had imbibed from Prabhupada at the Los Angeles World Headquarters. Although Prabhupada still spoke of expanding his movement more and more, he seemed content to stay in Los Angeles, reaching the rest of the world through his temple presidents, his Sankirtan parties, and his books. New plans were unfolding, however, and Prabhupada again spoke of a governing body, 12 hand-picked disciples to manage all of ISKCON's affairs. He also spoke of initiating more sannyasis and taking them with him to India to train as itinerant preachers and to ensure that his books were regularly and properly printed. He wanted to form a special committee in charge of book publication. Sometimes managing his worldwide religious movement, sometimes leading the growing group of devotees in chanting Sanskrit mantras in the Los Angeles temple, and sometimes sitting alone and translating in the pre-dawn hours. Prabhupada lived happily in Los Angeles. One day, a record arrived from London. The London devotees who, with George Harrison's help, had already produced an album, had now also released a new single, Govinda. The song consisted of verses Prabhupada had taught them from Brahma Samhita, each verse ending with the refrain, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Prabhupada asked that the record be played during the morning program in the temple. The next morning, after he'd entered the temple room, bowed down before the deity, and taken his seat on the Vyasasana to begin the class, the record began. Suddenly, Prabhupada became stunned with ecstasy. His body shivered, and tears streamed from his eyes. The devotees, feeling a glimmer of their spiritual master's emotion, began to chant Hare Krishna as if chanting japa. The moment seemed to pass slowly. Finally, Prabhupada spoke, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. He was again silent. Then he asked, is everyone all right? The response was a huge roar. Jai Prabhupada! What was the response?
Jai Prabhupada!
Jai Prabhupada!
Jai Prabhupada!
And he began the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Oh, any comment, question?
Could you relate to us when you visited the Hare Krishna tree?
In New York. Well, I just went there. One devotee took me there. And I just...
Was it like 1970s?
No, it was, I'd say, maybe in the 90s. Something like that. Okay, devotees, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I have a question. Sorry, I'm a bit late. If when Srila Prabhupada started these programs later on, like the Guru Puja and all that, does Maharaj think is that he received inner instructions from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta,
Well, it's possible. It's possible. You know, it's also possible that he's evaluating the maturity of the devotees and introducing things as they are appropriate, you could say. What's that? 22. Yeah, unless there's some reason. Okay. Okay.